If you have your Bibles, let's open them today to the book of John, John's Gospel. If you need a Bible, slip your hands up. Ushers are coming to put one into your hands. John's Gospel. And we're going to look here at the 9th chapter, John's Gospel, chapter 9. And we're going to focus on a few verses here that I think will bless you. John Gospel, chapter 9. And we're going to look at the 39th through the 41st verse, and I want to read these with you today, and we'll read them together. John chapter 9, verse 39 through 41. When you're there, say, I'm there. That was sad. If you're there, say, I'm there. Okay, let's try it again. Is everybody awake today? Everybody trying to? Now listen, if you got a phone or whatever, you should have found that in a half second. You did not need, 12, on your iPad. Well, give me a minute. No, you can do it faster than I can say it. So, John chapter 9, 39 through 41. Let's read these verses out loud together. Ready? Read. And Jesus said, for judgment I am come into this world, that they which see might not see. Sorry. Try it again. Let's all read together. When pastor says, let's read, let's try everybody reading together. Here we go, verse 39. And Jesus said, for judgment I am come into this world, that they which see not might see, and that they which see might be made blind. And some of the Pharisees which were with him heard these words, and said unto him, are we blind also? Verse 41. Jesus said unto them, if you were blind, you should have no sin. But now you say, we see, therefore your sin remains. Man, what a powerful thing. He says, Jesus said, I come for judgment. Now, a lot of times we don't like to think about judgment Jesus. We like to think about, desk calendar Jesus. And we don't like to think about judgment Jesus. But judgment Jesus said, I come to bring judgment. And that judgment is not, I'm going to get you, I'm going to get you, I'm going to get you. But he says something very interesting. He said, I come that they that see not might see. And then I come that they that see might not see, that they might be made blind. Why in the world would Jesus want somebody to be made blind? Of course, now here, he's not talking about physical eyesight. He's talking about righteousness. He's talking about equity. He's talking about right. He's talking about morals. He's talking about true sin. For he says in verse 41, he says, they asked him in verse 40, are we blind? He said, if you were blind, you would have no sin. But since you say, we see, then your sin remains. That's a very interesting thing. I've got it for you in a couple translations here. Look here on the screens, the ISV, it says this. Jesus told them, if you were blind, you would not have any sin. But now that you insist, we see. Now that you say, we see, your sin remains. In other words, if you didn't know what you were doing, Jesus said, I wouldn't call it sin. But since you say, we know exactly what we're doing, he says, then I have to call it sin. Look at the next translation here, the Weymouth translation. It says this, Jesus said, if you were blind, answered Jesus, you would have no sin. But as a matter of fact, you boast that you see. You tell me you can see. So because you insist that you see, you boast about it, so your sin remains. Let's look at the next verse here, the Amplified. It says this, Jesus said unto them, if you were blind, you would have no sin. But because you now claim to have sight, your sin, he says, because you now claim to have sight, your sin remains. If you were blind, you would not be guilty of sin. Notice that if you were blind, you would not be guilty of sin. But because you insist, we do see clearly, you are unable to escape your guilt. Notice he said, because you say, we see clearly, you're unable to escape your guilt. In other words, when a person is blind and they don't know what they're doing, Jesus says, I have mercy on them. But when a person insists, I can see right and wrong, I know the difference between right and wrong, that's when they become held accountable. It's when you're blind, you're not held accountable. But when you say, I see it, that's when you're held accountable. Now, let's look here at the Message translation, verse 39. It says this. It says, Jesus said to them, I am coming to the world to bring everything into the clear light of day. That's what I'm trying to do today. Pray for Pastor. I'm trying to bring everything into the clear light of day. I'm trying to bring everything into the clear light of day. This is what I'm on my Jesus mission now, trying to bring everything into the clear light of day, making all the distinctions clear so that those who have never seen will see. A lot of you have never seen, but today I hope you're going to see. And so those who have made a great pretense of seeing will be exposed as blind. Those people that say, I know exactly what's going on. You'll be shown how blind you really are, he says. Verse 41, I like this here. Jesus said, if you were really blind, you would be blameless. But since you claim to see everything so well, you're accountable for every fault and failure. Since you claim to see everything so well, you're accountable for every fault and every failure. A few years ago, we began an initiative that we called our As the Church initiative. The Lord really corrected me one day, it's about 5 or 6 years ago now, and said, Mike, you're really proficient in the church. You know about revivals. You know about conferences. You know about conventions. You know about what to do inside the walls. But you've not learned as the church what you're supposed to be doing as the church. And the Lord began to take me through a process, and He showed me basically this, that we always say the saying all the time, if your church were to cease to exist, would your community even know you were gone? In other words, if we shut down the church group, Church of Jacksonville, we just shut it down today, would Jacksonville, would the world even know that we're gone? Would they find out 5 years later, oh, that church closed, I had no idea. If nobody would know you were gone, it means you're not making an impact as the church. And the Lord really dealt with us that as the church is more than just having a bless me service, but as the church, we've got to figure out how to do this. When 40 years have passed, when a generation is gone, have we left the world better? Have we left our city better than it was when we found it? And so we got serious about finding out about our murder rates and our poverty rates and our divorce rates and our incarceration rates and our education. We found out and we said, okay, how can we get involved so that after we touch it, it's better than it was when we started, and we do this for people that don't even believe. In other words, you don't have to be a Christian to benefit from what it is that we're trying to do. This is done for humanity, not for Christians. This is done for everybody, not for Christians. So our as the church mission. And we started this a long time ago, and one of the things that we've kind of dealt with is this idea of inequity and systemic racism, and that's a part of what we confront as the church. Now, today I'm going to talk to you about that subject, and I'm going to talk to you about something called the new front lines of systemic racism. The new front lines of systemic racism, and I'm going to talk about the war of words, images, and mindsets. Now, I want to caution you because every time I talk to someone about this that insists they see, by the time I'm done talking to them, I realize you have no idea. And so a lot of you may instantly have an opinion based on what you've seen here. I know what he's getting ready to say. I know what's getting ready to be said. And if we do, great. But I'm here. One of two things is going to happen. Those that had no idea are going to realize, man, I haven't seen some stuff. And those that are quite sure they know what's going on, you may find out how blind you really are. And hopefully there is blindness. Because if we find out today that people see, Jesus said, I would have to make their sin remain. So it happened last service despite my warning. It's going to happen this service despite my warning. As I go through this, don't assume you know where we're going. Don't assume you think you know what I'm trying to say and how dare I try to say it. Just hear the whole thing out because I am trying to, for judgment, I am preaching this sermon this morning. I am preaching this sermon so that they that see not might see, and that those that claim they see might realize how blind they really are. Before we get started this morning, I want to start you off with a little video. This video was taken on a vacation. Just somebody took it and put it up, and I thought it was very interesting. I want you to watch this video. This is a street performer, make some, do a little show, and then, throw some money down, and this is mid-performance. Okay, well, that's enough of that. All right, now, here's the question. Here's the question. What's happening here? What's happening here? And what you can think you're seeing is, look at those nasty puppets. But how many of you know there's no such thing as a nasty puppet? How many of you know there's no such thing as a nasty puppet? If you were out here on the street performance, you went home back to the hotel or whatever on vacation, you say, you should have seen it. They had these nasty puppets out here. They were doing all of that. There's no such thing as a nasty puppet. Why? Because a puppet is merely the extension of the puppeteer. As I go through this today, the first thing you're going to do is try to attack the puppet. The mistake you'll make is to think that I'm attacking the puppet, and the puppet is not my goal. It is foolish to blame a puppet because puppets are only an extension of the heart and mind and rightness or corruption of the puppeteer. So if this, that little lady puppet was dancing in front of that guy, and that man was dancing with him, and what happens if his wife pushed him and said, how dare you, and then pushed the puppet? How stupid do you look pushing a puppet? Get this little nasty puppet. No such thing as a nasty puppet. And I want you to remember that as we go through this thing today. I'm going to tell you 4 stories in my sermon today, or my talk today. The first story is called The Case of the Mongolian Beer Dogs. And it starts out with an uh-oh, and that uh-oh is right here. It's a photograph that appeared online. That's a dog fight. You can see in the bottom right-hand corner a couple of dogs going at it, and it's no doubt bloody and very violent. This picture was taken, it looks like, from a balcony. You can see the crowd gather around. People are excited. People are participating. There's no doubt gambling and gaming going on as people bet on dogs. You can see a man down there filming it. And the reason this is an uh-oh, among many reasons, is if you look on the right-hand side and back in the left corner, you'll see Heineken banners hanging around the dogfight. And there's all this Heineken promotional material in the dogfight, kind of as the promoter of the dogfight. And, regardless of, your opinions on that, I can assure you right now, nobody is going to be happy that Heineken was sponsoring a dogfight. And you know what? This lit off a social media frenzy. And people got all over Facebook, Twitter, everywhere else, and just said, oh my gosh, Heineken, how awful are you? How could possibly you support a dogfight? And Heineken immediately responded. Before they even knew what was going on, they knew being associated with dogfighting, they cannot wait. And they sent out a letter, basically said, we're going to look into it. And some of the things they said in here is interesting. They said, this is their letter on April 4th, 2012. Heineken is aware that a shocking photo of what appears to be dogfighting match in a foreign country. It says, with Heineken branding, notice the word branding is going to become important later, Heineken branding visible in the background. We'd like to thank the community, thank the people for letting us know about this and bring it to our attention. Next paragraph says, we are as appalled by this image as you are. Notice, appalled by this image as you are, and have asked the Heineken Global Office to immediately investigate, find out what's going on. They didn't even know what it was at first. In the circumstance of this event, whether Heineken was involved in any way. And then they say to their public, their fans, if you have any further assistance or information, please let us know. So that was April 4th. And so what they do, Heineken immediately started to investigate. They started looking for clues. They started asking questions. They even brought in McGruff to find out exactly what was going on. They got experts to really solve what was going on. And it didn't take them too long to get the facts. And the facts are these. The photo was real. People thought it was photoshopped. Turns out, no, it's not photoshopped. That's a real dogfight with real Heineken banners on it. Took place sometime in 2010 or 2011. There's varying reports. Took place somewhere in Mongolia, but it looks like Heineken was not involved. And Heineken, whew, thank God. Why? Because Heineken cannot be seen as a brand supporting dogfighting. So once they found out they weren't involved, Heineken goes on the offensive, right? We're coming after you now. And we're coming after you, it's Dusty Rhodes, baby, bionic elbow, here I come. And so Heineken goes out on his website and posts a sign, a letter, and it says, look, we found out this was what happened. It turns out there was a concert the night before at that venue that Heineken did promote. The concert broke down, everybody left, and the dogfight came in the next day, but they left the banners up and didn't take them down, so it looked like Heineken had sponsored the dogfighting. Well, no problem. Heineken says, you know what we did? We went to their place, took all our promotional material out, took all of our alcohol and all our beverage brands out, took all of our branding, cut our contract with that company, then went door to door and told everybody there, you better not put dogfighting or you'll lose your contract too. This is something we take serious. Dogfighting is a serious issue. And so they did it. And not only that, but they made the company apologize. They made the actual bar in Mongolia apologize. You can't really read it there, but it says, we're sorry, this was not us, this was not Heineken, we promise, and made them get certified. Why? Because they could not afford, for that to happen. And here's some interesting thing about it, though. I want to read you these. They may be too small. Those who are on iChurch, of course, you can see it. But here's some things from their statement on April 18th, 2012. It says this: this is very distressing and totally unacceptable. As a company, as a brand owner, we're going to hear a lot about brand owner today, we do not and would never knowingly support any event, outlet, or individual involved in this type of activity. It's against our company brand and brand rules, and more importantly, it's against our company values. Notice, dogfighting is against our brand rules, and against our values. The next paragraph says this: we want to thank our consumers online. Thank you for pointing this out. We're so grateful that you pointed out how the Heineken name was being, tarnished, for bringing this issue to our attention. We are shocked and disappointed by these images, it says. We fully understand the level of negative feeling. We can understand why people would be upset over animals being hurt amongst our consumers. And the bottom one is great. We encourage our customers to continue to use social media to alert us of any situation where they feel, here it is, our brands are being misrepresented. If you see Heineken's name associated with something that you don't think represents Heineken, please let us know. That's a powerful statement. So why? Why did Heineken write these letters? Why did they go online? Why did they freak out? Well, maybe it was conscience. Maybe they really are against dogfighting. I'm assuming they are. I'm sure they're decent people. Maybe it really was their brand. They feel like brand and dogfighting and beer don't go together. Most likely, as we've seen, money had something to do with it, which is what? They know you upset people about dogfighting. That people are going to hit that internet. People are going to hit that social media, and people crucified them. I mean, people went nuts. I'll never drink. I'll never do this. I'll protest you. How dare you not protect animals? Da, da, da. But it doesn't matter what their motivation was. Why? Because they wanted to send a message. They had a message to send. And a company, when it finds its brand is out there associated with stuff that doesn't jive with their core values and their brand, they want to send a message. What's that message? They want to tell us what? Beer loves dogs. Beer loves dogs. Heineken would never hurt an animal. Beer loves dogs. And they wanted to get on it. And you know what? They couldn't delay. They couldn't vacillate. They couldn't hesitate. They found out on it before they even investigated. You know what they did? Before they even investigated, I'm trying to talk now. Before they even investigated, before they had information, they put out a letter. We don't know what's going on yet. We're going to find that this is awful. And then took 2 weeks to find out what was going on. Why didn't they wait 2 weeks to find out what was going on? Because their brand can't afford being left 2 weeks that we think they're associated with dogfighting. Because that's going to affect beer sales. That's going to affect money. And so they had to get it back out to us what? Beer loves dogs. Beer loves dogs. You have to know that beer loves dogs. Now let's talk about these lessons. Let's go. What are the lessons from story number one? It's coming to a close. Well, here they are. First of all, companies care about their brand and their identity. They care about that. They want what their brand is to be looked at in a good light. Social media is an effective way to get their attention. Apparently, you might not be able to talk to the president, but you say enough about it on Facebook, you're going to get a response. And they actually cite Facebook in their writing. Third thing is this: the more appalling the issue. You take a thing like dogfighting, which upsets people, the more appalling the issue is to the community at large, the more appalled the company will be. And finally is this: companies are run by people. They can and act swiftly when they feel it is needed. In other words, companies are not these things that, it's just an autonomous entity. No, a person there said, get on the phone, get on the internet, find out what's going on. Beer loves dogs. Get everybody the message. We're appalled by this. Why? Because we don't want Heineken to be seen as not supporting rights. We don't want Heineken and cruelty to animals to ever be married in somebody's thought. That's the end of story one. Let's talk about story two.